The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this Attivio webinar today. We're going to get started in just a minute or 90 seconds or so while we let everyone dial in and get situated onto the web meeting. So just give us a moment and we'll get started shortly. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar, Intelligent Search Solves Complex Customer Support Challenges. I'm your host today, Allison Barr, and I'm joined by my colleague, Anthony Paquette, Director of QA for Attivio. I'll review a few brief housekeeping items before we get started. Our session today will run about 30 minutes, give or take, and we are recording today's presentation, and we will provide a link to the recording after so that you can review it again at your leisure or share it with any of your peers or colleagues that you think might also be interested in this topic. And at the end of the session, we'll include a question and answer session. And if you have a question, you can enter it at any time in the Q&A panel of the GoToWebinar console. So over there in the module for you. We'll take as many questions as we can as time allows, but if we're unable to address your question live, we'll follow up later by email and make sure that you get an answer. So with that covered, we can dive into the meat of today's session. We'd like to actually start with a quick poll and learn a little bit more about what areas of customer support are your company's top priority for this year. And so we have a bunch of answers that we would love to have you pick from. Is the top priority for support around improving agent productivity, reducing support costs, improving self-service, incorporating automation and or artificial intelligence into your support services, reducing customer effort to resolve issues, or none of the above? We know that there might be, many priorities when it comes to customer support, so we'd love to understand which one's kind of rising to the top right now. And then also, too, you may not be directly involved in those priorities, but given what you know about your company and what might be most important for customer support, give us your best indication there. So give folks just a second more to pick their answer and see what the results are. Looks like we've got a good set of answers, so let's go ahead and show those results to everyone. And what we can do is kind of talk through that. So it looks like most popular is improving agent productivity. 83% of our audience here today said that was most important. Not surprised there. Typically, when we speak with customer support organizations, productivity does rise to the top. Interestingly, we've got a tie for number 2 between incorporating automation and or AI, as well as reducing customer effort to resolve issues. We'll talk a little bit more about these two things during our presentation, but it seems like those two actually are very close sisters to each other, where you can provide automation, you can help to reduce the friction that customers feel when they're trying to resolve their own issues. And then we have a tie for last place there in terms of reducing support costs and improving self-service. All, again, could be really important to organizations as they're trying to determine what do they need to do and prioritize around customer support. All right, great. Let's go ahead and close that poll and move on to the rest of our presentation. Thank you so much for your answers there. So kind of reflecting what we just talked about in the poll, wanted to show and talk a little bit about some industry research that's been recently done around some of the priorities that organizations are focusing on when it comes to customer support. So Gartner did a survey, and according to their results, CEOs recently ranked customer strategy as their #2 initiative, with customer-oriented, technology-related investments at the top of those agendas. So from an overall company perspective, customer strategy is very, very important to CEOs and large organizations. And separately, an organization called DMG Consulting looked at the top goals for enterprise customer service in 2017. And the chart you see on the screen here illustrates those top elements that were reported back in their survey. And those include things that we just looked at, like improving productivity, improving self-service for your clients, reducing the costs of self-service, and reducing the customer effort associated with support. So a lot of synergy there with what we just saw. However, even though those are the priorities today, customer support teams that we talk to and that we're connected with tell us that they're still facing challenges. And these are particularly around finding or delivering the right answers to solve user needs. And whether that's directly between the agent and the client or in a self-service model. And these challenges are precipitated because the answers and information that can help resolve issues are stored in a myriad of data sources, from ticketing systems to knowledge bases to product portals and manuals, parts inventory systems, and so on. You name it, there's content out there. And that information exists both in structured forms like databases and in unstructured form like emails, chats, images, and things like that, which could equally be helpful in resolving an issue. But in many organizations, there's not the ability to marry the structured and unstructured information together in order to use it to the best ability to answer questions. And on top of that, call center data sources are more often than not siloed across the organization, which makes it very difficult to find and extract content, especially when time is of the essence. You don't want to be hunting and pecking and searching across a bunch of different silos to get the answer. And this siloing and data disparity really causes frustration on the part of agents and clients, and works contrary to those objectives that we just discussed around increasing productivity, improving self-service, and reducing costs and effort. So there's a real opportunity within the call center to break down these information silos, make structured and unstructured data available and integrated, and accelerate time to finding answers and delivering resolutions. And why this is a problem customer support teams should be addressing? Well, according to Gartner, improved delivery of contextual knowledge can reduce a provider's response time by 20 to 80%. Now, that's a big range for sure, but we've seen that our clients who even see a small improvement in productivity by being able to quickly find the right answer can save their company millions of dollars. And intelligent search can be a key contributor to that agent productivity. So what we're going to talk about today is that marriage between intelligent search, agent productivity, improvements in self-service and whatnot that are made possible through a platform like Attivio's. And then we'll move into a demo to show you what that looks like in real life. So Anthony's going to talk a little bit more about some of these use cases in more detail when we get to the demo. But when we talk with our clients about their customer support scenarios where intelligent search could have a real impact, they repeatedly mention these three situations. First is in the call center by empowering agents with the right information to resolve a customer's issue as quickly as possible. And in many cases, this means integrating intelligent search with support platforms like Salesforce.com or ServiceNow. The second is for self-service by enabling end users or your clients to more quickly find the relevant answers that they need to answer their questions or solve their own problems. By making that process more natural, more effortless and smarter, you can deflect calls into the call center. And the third use case is around preventative maintenance, where machine learning capabilities of intelligent search can help predict issues before they occur and drive people to possible resolutions and solutions in advance of a problem happening, and help support professionals eliminate future downtime or callbacks. So I'm now going to turn it over to Anthony to walk us through a demonstration of Attivio's intelligent search capabilities, and then we'll come back to a few more scenarios and close with our Q&A today. So I'm going to just hand the controls over to Anthony, and he's going to walk us through that demo.
All right, great. Thanks, Allison. What I'd like to do today is share with you a customer support application, a search-based application that we use here internally at Attivio. We call this application dog food. Just it's the expression to eat your own dog food. We want to use our own product here internally at Attivio so we can reap the same benefits that our customers do of breaking down silos, having a single point of search to access all of our internal corporate information. What you can see here is the entry page into that application, and you can see that we've consolidated 5 data sources. There's no limit to that. Right now we have Confluence, which is our wiki platform. We've got our product documentation as well as internal design and requirements documents. We also bring in our Jira ticketing system. That's the system where we track bugs and development tasks. And also we bring in our actual source code for the various versions of our product. We've also, we'll see some users and principals, some groups, security information that we've brought in. But we use this application internally within our customer support group, and those are the folks who are responding to our customers' issues on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes, quite urgent issues. The Attivio software is often used in mission-critical applications by our customers. So, anytime there's an issue, it's very important to get it resolved as quickly as possible. So, since we've begun using this internally, we've definitely seen better customer satisfaction and productivity within the support group. They're able to quickly resolve issues, especially issues where we've seen them before. They're able to find those solutions from the past and then communicate those back to the customer very quickly. And it also helps with new hires. Customer support folks can get productive quite quickly by having access to this tool, and it saves them from having to constantly escalate to more senior employees. So there's a few use cases. I'm going to go through a couple of them, but one particular use case is just really doing research. You may be working on an issue and you're simply looking for some information. For example, you may be looking for some advanced syntax that the Attivio engine accepts. Okay. And we'll take a look at this screen here a little bit more in depth. Again, we have the different data sources that we're bringing in: Jira, Confluence, and source code. This left-hand column is what we call faceted navigation. We can drill down into to narrow down the search. Say I want to limit my search just to Confluence for product documentation, or if I know that a particular employee worked on an issue and may have authored a document for the Jira content that's coming in, we have some of the fields that are available there. So I may want to limit my search just to resolved tickets or open tickets, or tickets of different priority. These facets are both from the data sources themselves, we could map fields and expose them as these filters, or else we also, with unstructured data, have the ability to really add value by creating structure where there really isn't any. For example, key phrase extraction, the comments and the longer description fields on the wiki pages or in the JIRA tickets. We'll apply our natural language processing and text analytics. So these are phrases that are found within the results that we can also use to filter down and limit the query to zero in on our answer. So I could go and visit this document, and perhaps I'm just looking for some more details about, say, Attivio's join operator. So that's one use case. You're interested in a particular feature or functionality of Attivio, and you don't want to have to go to each disparate system and execute searches to see what those systems have about the topic. We've broken down those silos and consolidated that data into a single point of access. Of course, at any time, I can also visit the Insights tab. The Insights tab is more of an analytical dashboard, and it allows me to explore the data in ways, more of a discovery mode. I can drill down and look at a particular source or a project in JIRA, and again, similar to the facets on the previous screen, but more of a visual exploration interface. Before we leave this page, I just want to go through a couple of other things. We've built into this application our machine learning relevancy. What that means is that as people are using this application, the documents that they click on are fed back into the engine as feedback for relevancy. So if I'm constantly clicking on a certain type of document, maybe a certain type of documentation, the system is learning what I like, and on subsequent searches, it will start to boost the content that it thinks I'm going to like up to the top. So again, trying to learn about me, learn my preferences, learn the characteristics of those documents that I'm clicking on. It generates a model. That model feeds into the relevancy score, and over time, as more and more people are using the system, it's learning and constantly improving. And let's see. Another use case, probably more common, is that a customer support employee sees a new ticket come in. And I'm going to pull up an example. They may just want to search for that ticket number. So we're ingesting the tickets from the JIRA system throughout the day. And we have this layout we call the 360-degree view of, in this case, a JIRA ticket. Now, we also have 360-degree views of other types of documents, and the application is customizable, so we can alter the functionality based on the type of document we're looking at. But here, we're talking about a JIRA ticket, an issue that's been raised by a customer, and we're really looking to get to the resolution as quickly as possible. So we're consolidating all related information around that issue, that topic. And there's a number of ways that we will bring that related information in, and that's where the power of the search engine is leveraged. Just going from top to bottom, we like to calculate kind of a sentiment of the customer. We have an algorithm where we're trying to take a look at the number of tickets they have open, the severity of those tickets, maybe how long they've been open, or the average time to resolution, just to give the customer support person a sense of the health and maybe the mood of this customer when they're interacting with them. Maybe they've had a lot of issues recently, so we want to make sure that we're handling this with the right escalation. Or else maybe we haven't heard from them in a while, and they're starting a new effort and maybe upgrading from one version of Attivio to another, and they have a lot of technical questions about changes in the API or something. So trying to get some context about the customer. Then we have some details, of course, about the issue at hand that we pull in from Jira. But we also pull in other Jira tickets by the same reporter. So the person reporting this issue, if they've got other tickets open in the system, we want to know about that. Perhaps one is related to the other. On the right-hand side, we're really about getting to the answer. So we're using the text analytics and the entity extraction and the power of the engine to take the description, and the keywords, and the extracted entities from the issue being reported, and then searching all of the various data sources for related content. So we're going to search Jira for other Jira tickets, and you can see by the highlighted terms that it's pulling terms from either the description or the title of the current ticket and formulating queries and bringing in related tickets. So one thing that we've done and I've seen work very well is a lot of our tickets will have a Java stack trace, and it might mention certain APIs or classes within our code base or an exception that's been thrown. And we extract those out as entities, and if that same exception were thrown in another ticket, that would be brought in here, and if there was a path to resolution, that path would be accessible very quickly, and we could say, oh yeah, that looks like a memory issue. The solution is to provide more memory for the application or whatever it is. Wiki, we're bringing in results from our wiki so that if this is more of a question about how do I use a particular feature, then we're going to be finding the relevant documentation page that we can send or just give them the answer. And then finally, source code. So if this is a very deep technical matter and maybe there's a developer who's trying to use an API running into some trouble, it's going to bring in the actual source code that is related to their question, and we might be able to just take a look and say what they're having trouble with. We have plans for additional data sources that are in the works. We have a discussion thread through email that our engineers use. So that's another data source we'll be bringing in shortly. We have file systems and our corporate website. So we're constantly adding and looking for new sources of related info, really just trying to break down more and more of those silos, bring the data in, and the more that's in there, the better it is for our customer support team to do their job. Finally, in the bottom right corner here is more of another visual discovery tool. This is what we call the knowledge graph, and you can see that the current document is our issue right now that we're looking at. But here it's also using extracted entities like people and fields from the Jira documents, and it's finding those connections. It's building a graph, and it lets you explore related documents in a more visual way. So it may help you find your answer, just using this type of interface rather than the search results elsewhere on the page. So again, the whole purpose of this page is to consolidate everything we know, everything that might be helpful in resolving this particular issue quickly. And like I said, we've really seen the impact that it's had for shorter resolution times and letting new employees be productive sooner. So I think that's all I've got there. I can turn it back over to you, Allison.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you so much for walking us through that and for giving us that overview about how Attivio is using its own platform in order to bring insights and answers into our support organization. It's very similar to how we help our customers who are doing similar things marry the ticket info with the information and insights from our intelligent search platform. And in some cases, as we mentioned before, they may be making that information available within Salesforce.com or ServiceNow or some other other application that their agents are using on a day-to-day basis, providing all of that information in context in a single pane of glass to really help speed time to resolution, and as you had mentioned, to make their agents quickly productive. So now I wanted to just move on to a couple of those other scenarios and share some screenshots of some other instantiations of intelligent search within customer support. And that are powered by Attivio. And so what we're looking at here is a public-facing site from one of our clients, National Instruments, who uses their externally facing knowledge base to make that available to clients for self-service in their answers. So as we mentioned before, that's one of the key use cases that we hear about, and also is one of those kind of top priorities within broad customer support organizations that we saw in those results in those surveys. And so when a user starts to type into the search box, the autocomplete that you can see dropping down here helps to guide them to popular answers and also support the natural language way of asking a question, right? So instead of having to figure out keywords and whatnot, they can start with a question like, how do I execute a Windows command line, or how do I do this or that? It's very, very natural from a human perspective to ask a question. And the content that they give access to can come from their knowledge base, tickets, their forums, and other data sources that might be relevant in order for that customer to answer their question on their own. It's all available and searchable via the self-service interface here. And the goal is to provide those clients the ability to answer their question themselves without having to pick up the phone or start a chat in order to get an answer from an agent directly. So lots of different ways that this can manifest itself. This is just one example of how a company is leveraging Attivio for self-service there. The third use case that we mentioned before was around preventative maintenance. And this is a representation of a customer that we work with who manufactures aircraft, and their support experience is focused on preventative maintenance so they can keep their aircraft in the air and not on the ground being serviced. And so as Anthony was showing at the end of his demo there, they take a very visual approach to guiding their agents towards the right information. So if their agent's looking for a solution related to a reported engine failure, the Attivio solution enables them to deliver back probable causes and solutions in a way that easily drives them to the right content. And in this case, it's likely related to the turbine engine because that visual block is the largest on the screen here. So they can drill down into that topic and look at the information behind that in order to get to either other tickets that are related, solutions, recommended tests, et cetera, in order to fix that problem or prevent one in the future, right? Because they might find something that is likely to follow after engine failure that they need to fix in addition to what's the problem right now. So we showed a few ways that intelligent search can support various scenarios that the call center might encounter. And really the key takeaway that we'd love to have you walk away with today is that an enterprise-grade platform like Attivio it really lets you have multiple and various types of solutions available to your call center. And it's our goal to make sure that the power of our intelligent search platform enables you to make your agents more productive, your customers more satisfied, and your resolutions delivered more quickly and effortlessly. Really, the sky's the limit for you in terms of how you want that to be consumed and presented within your organization based on your own requirements and the goals you're trying to accomplish. So that being said, we'll just do one final poll here, then get to questions before we wrap up our session today. So if we could go ahead and get that next poll launched, we can start to get answers there. So given what you've seen today, based on kind of what's happening in the marketplace, those priorities that you responded to earlier, what you might have seen during the demo, kind of putting that all together, what areas of customer support in your organization do you think could most benefit from intelligent search? Do you think it could be, for your content center agents themselves in terms of enabling your clients through self-service, delivering preventative maintenance for your organization, or is there maybe something not here that becomes a priority there? So just give just a second more for folks to give us their answer. All right, I think we've got one last change. All right, I think let's go ahead and close the poll. Thank you for providing your answers there. So let's see what our results are. Okay, great. So primarily the interest is around delivering capabilities into the hands of contact center agents. Makes a lot of sense because they are the front line of the organization. They're taking questions, issues, looking at tickets through multiple channels, whether it's phone or chat or email, and finding that information and helping make them productive, helping make level 1 agents as informed and whatnot as level 2 agents by access to information is a really key way to help improve the customer service you deliver and the way that your clients experience your customer support. So thank you so much for answering that. Appreciate your feedback there. So with the few moments we have left, let's go ahead and just see if we've got any questions from the audience here. If you do have a question, please do go ahead and enter it into the question module in your GoToWebinar control panel. And it looks like we've got a couple here to start with. So let's take this first one here. So Anthony, you talked a little bit about some of the data sources that Attivio uses in our support scenario, but the question here is more broad. Can you give us a little more insight into some of the other types of data sources that can be supported and the file types that might be able to be leveraged with intelligent search from Attivio?
Yeah, sure. The data sources, they probably fall into about 3 buckets. There's certainly out-of-the-box connectors where we can connect to file systems, CSV files, XML files, and when ingesting like CSV files, we can have each row of the document of the CSV become a document in the index or index the thing as a whole. We can connect to any database that can have a JDBC connectivity. So that opens up a lot of possibilities. We also have a partner who we work with to connect to a lot of enterprise software, such as like Confluence and things like Jira and SharePoint, Exchange, both on-prem and in the cloud. And getting back to the file types and the MIME types, there's roughly 600 supported file types that we can ingest and extract text from during ingestion. Things like Word and Microsoft Excel, PDFs. And finally, there's an API. So if something out of the box or through one of our partners doesn't connect to the data source that you have, we have an API where you can feed documents in, and so we can work with you to create anything custom that needs to maybe some proprietary system.
Great, thank you. The next question is around the security of content. So if there's information in one of these sources that, say, a support agent doesn't have permissions or rights in order to access, how does Attivio help manage those permissions? Can you talk a little bit about that, Anthony?
Sure. So Attivio has a security model that we frequently implement. The way it works is that when we ingest content, we keep the actual documents separate from the users and the groups and the permissions, which we call the ACLs, the access control lists. And by keeping them separate, we're able to very quickly update any of them in isolation. So if somebody changes departments and all of a sudden they need to have access to a whole different set of documents, it doesn't require you to re-ingest all your content. We can simply update the permissions of that one user. So by having that model, we can map that to any security model in the data source. So with Jira, we can enforce the permissions there so that when you log in to this particular application, you're only seeing the Jira tickets that you would have rights to see in that source system. Same thing with, say, file system. If you have a Windows share and you have access to some public folders but not private folders, or email, if we're ingesting a lot of email, then in each individual user, as they log in, we're able to just return their emails back to them, or any public emails, but not any that they shouldn't see. So it's very adaptable to data sources, and it's also the way that it's set up, very easy to update, and we can really make changes very quickly.
Great, thank you for that. One last question before we close our session today. There's a question around how's the platform priced, so I can go ahead and answer that one. So pricing is based on the number of documents that are indexed into the Attivio platform. And so that'll vary based on what you're looking to make available. So if there's a specific range that you want to talk through, we'll be happy to follow up with you separately, maybe give you a custom demo if that would be of interest, and then help you understand what the price range would look like there. So thank you very much for your questions. Thank you, Anthony, for joining me today. Thank you all, everybody, for joining. We really appreciate the time you spent with us here. And if you have any additional questions or follow-up, please feel free to reach out to us directly. And as we mentioned before, we'll make the recording of this session available to everybody shortly hereafter. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.